Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. Hello, YouTube! Woo! Big show today. I always say that. It's the same fucking show. And 3.
Welcome to Super Talk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 44. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. Titanium,
Professor!
back.
We're back.
And we got a big episode to talk about this week.
Yeah, we're going to run down a few rumors. We got Disney Plus Day to kind of let people know about, and then we're going to get into the internals and kind of explain some stuff and give our point of view on things. And man, you did a hell of a job last episode kind of getting everybody up to speed on the characters and their powers, and then we got to see them in action. So we're going to talk about Eternals and some other news and reviews, so hang in there and sit tight, people. Take us to school, Professor.
All right, well, before we get started, let's thank the patrons that bring the show to you, and those are the ones that have signed up to become patrons on patreon.com/supertalk. Support the show directly. They donate $1 each episode we release, and they're out there helping us bring the show to you. So thank you, patrons. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to do a big giveaway when we get to our milestone annual episode or 1-year anniversary episode. So if you want to become part of that giveaway, sign up on patreon.com/supertalk.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you guys, boys and squirrels, for donating a little bit of cash and hanging in there with us. And it'll pay off in dividends at the end.
So let's jump right into the content this week. No new real shows other than the movie we're going to review. So we're going to save that for our topic of the week this week, is our big review of the Eternals. No new content really came out that we need to address today. But we'll jump right into the news of the week. First thing that I'll cover right now is something that we saw in the theater when we saw Eternals, but it dropped last week before the movie came out. And that's the new trailer for Morbius.
Fire hot. I mean, absolutely red hot fire. I don't think I've been this excited for a movie from Sony in a very long time. I love the Spider-Man movies, don't get me wrong, but for some reason, this looks great. Am I wrong?
No, let's kind of hit the rewind button a little bit. This movie was supposed to be released in March of 2020. And there was some promotion to the movie prior to that point, that we had gotten a teaser trailer up into that point. And then Sony delayed the movie because of COVID, and then it was pushed back into the fall, and then it was pushed back again to later in the year. And then they said, you know what? We're pushing it back all the way until January of 2022. And we're like, wow. So it's going to be a full 22 months since that movie was supposed to come out when it gets released next January, which is a long delay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's very strange to me.
Longer than Black Widow, so they had plenty of time to get it right. And from my perspective, it looks like they tweaked some things from the first trailer to what this was.
Well, they definitely added some special effects to the trailer, which either were done after the fact or were done, and we just hadn't seen it yet. But what we saw in this trailer showed Michael Morbius's powers on another scale. Not only talked about him, getting the living vampire powers that he has and how he gets that, which we saw in the first trailer, but it showed him ability to fly, a little bit more explanation around his echolocation powers.
Yeah.
Looked like he could turn himself into a bat.
Yeah.
I mean, these were like really rich and crisp special effects that we had not seen yet, and it really kind of excited me about the character. And then the face at the end of the trailer of him in his full kind of vampire form, haunting.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was awesome. If you think of this character, a living vampire, and his thirst for blood, this is the face you want to see. I mean, this is, from a comic book perspective, a fan, this is it, man. They have taken that comic book and they have enhanced it, and that's what you really want. as a fan of the big and small screen, you want them to take what you know and love in the comics and enhance it. And I think that's what they did. It reminds me a lot of Nightcrawler in the X-Men movies, where he would phase out and phase in that puff of smoke, where he would come in and out, and in the scene in the White House, how badass that was. Man, they've taken that special effect and enhanced it by 20-fold. I mean, this really looks good. I'm excited to see this movie.
We'll do a full breakdown of this movie before it comes out in January, of course. Come to Super Talk, and we'll break down the movie ahead of time, and then we'll also give you our review once it does come out. But the trailer did a really good job of kind of setting up the character. You know, he's been dealing with a life-altering sickness that's been killing him his entire life, and there's, thousands of people in the world that suffer with the same disease, and he's a incredibly intelligent scientist and a doctor that's been trying to figure out a cure to his disease. And the cure, while it works, does some other things to him. But he is kind of a classic anti-hero, whereas, at heart, he's a doctor and he wants to help people and cure people, and he's a helpful guy. But now he's being kind of haunted by this thirst for blood, and there's a creature inside of him that he's constantly trying to keep at bay. And there's times where
he can't control it.
Right. And then there's times where it also comes out when he needs it to, right?
Yeah.
Where he's in trouble and he can defend himself. So, wow, the trailer's great. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on YouTube.
Yep.
Or see it in the theater when you see Eternals. You can check it out there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Spoiler alert. We're going to talk about Eternals, so go see it. Turn this off right now and go see it if you haven't seen it. Or if you plan on just waiting for it to come out.
Hopefully we did our job last week and got everybody so excited about it that they already went out and saw it this past weekend. You and I were traveling over the weekend and didn't get back in time to see it on a release day, but we did see it last night, so we're excited. Okay, let's get to the next news item, and you mentioned this up front, Titanium. Disney Plus Day this Friday. A lot of exciting things coming.
Yeah.
So we can run down all the things that we know are coming in. There's some things that we believe are coming, right?
Yeah. I think I was looking today on how they're going to release this. I know on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, they're going to start streaming some stuff there and probably mirror the content that they're going to put on Disney Plus. But I couldn't figure out how they're going to do this. Are they just going to drop things on Disney Plus and we have to go to Disney Plus to watch the content? Or this is going to be a streaming event, and that's what I found out. It's going to be like a streaming event.
Yeah, it'll be like DC Fandom. It'll be something like that. We're going to be able to see the live presentation of Disney Plus Day. And again, there's going to be multiple components of Disney Plus Day. There's going to be a Marvel component where I'm sure Kevin Feige's going to come out.
I think that's at 11 Eastern Standard Time. So Friday around 11 is the Marvel reveal kind of review that's going to be coming out.
And the last time that they did this, this is where we got that initial slate of television shows they were doing on Disney Plus, where they announced all the television shows, all the actors are coming. That's where we learned about Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki and WandaVision and Ironheart and She-Hulk and Moon Knight, all those things. So there's going to be a Marvel portion of the Disney Plus Day. Now there are also going to be some Disney portions. There's going to be some other things that Disney and
National
Star
Geographic,
Wars,
Pixar,
Star Wars stuff that they're doing as well.
Some shorts for Pixar.
But here's what we know, and there's already been some announcements. A couple of things have come out this week already. We know for a fact that Shang-Chi is being released on Disney Plus on Friday the 12th. So you will be able to stream that movie on Friday, which is very exciting. If you have not yet seen that movie, I don't know why. But it is now coming to Disney Plus on Friday. You'll be able to stream that on the Disney Plus service Friday. One of the other big announcements that I told you about yesterday, Marvel came out and said they are releasing the IMAX versions of every one of their movies that were filmed in IMAX to Disney Plus. So you'll be able to go back and rewatch any Marvel movie in IMAX format. So the large format that IMAX comes, which is much taller format, right? It's not as wide as the traditional movie screen is. It's a much more broader up and down format. And
visually it'll give you more information about the film. I mean, I think that's cool, especially Endgame.
Yeah, that's one that I'm excited to watch in IMAX. I mean, that's going to be crazy. So every one of those is going to be released on Friday as well. Another really big, exciting announcement. Now, what are the things we're looking forward to? Now, I know we're hopefully, and this is, I would be shocked if this doesn't happen, we're going to be getting some trailers for some of the content we know Marvel's bringing to Disney Plus. We're hoping to get a trailer for She-Hulk. We're hoping to get a trailer for Moon Knight.
Yeah.
We're hoping to get a trailer for Ms. Marvel.
Yeah.
The shows that are kind of in the post-production or kind of, they're already done filming or partially through their filming process.
We've already had a teaser reel for Miss Marvel, so I think we're definitely going to get a Miss Marvel trailer. I think we're going to see Moon Knight in his costume. I think we're going to see Oscar dressed up as Moon Knight, and I think we're going to see She-Hulk. I think we're going to see what She-Hulk will look like. It was CGI. We're going to get that.
So excited. Yeah, so we should get trailers for those Disney Plus series that are coming in the near term. So within the next 6 months, we know all 3 of those are coming within the next 6 months. We should get another Hawkeye trailer, I believe, because that is releasing in a couple of weeks, right? Yeah. So we're getting right after Thanksgiving, day before Thanksgiving, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're getting that really quickly. So hopefully, we're going to see some of those trailers some of the content we know is coming very quickly. But the thing I'm looking forward to most, I'm hoping they're going to give us some hard and fast is a loose term. They're going to give us some release dates for these series. So we've been told, we know Hawkeye's coming out the day before Thanksgiving. We know that. But we don't know when Ms. Marvel's coming out. No. We don't know when She-Hulk's coming out. We don't know when Moon Knight's coming out. So I'm hoping we're going to get those release dates for those series given to us. And they may give us some loose release dates for some of the other ones further down the line.
Yeah, like in 2023, this is coming out, this is coming out, this is coming out.
Yeah, we know the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special is coming next Christmas. Yes. And we know I Am Groot is coming at some point in time. We know there's a bunch of things that we know are coming. So they'll give us at least, December 2022, or July 2022. So we'll get hopefully some loose release dates around that. That'll be very exciting. The other thing I'm looking forward to is casting announcements for some of the series that we know are coming. So they've given us some broadcastings, but there's been some people cast in roles that we don't know yet, and hopefully they'll announce who are playing these parts in some of these series. That's what I'm looking forward to as well. The last thing, we know, or we've been told, there's other series planned that they have not officially come out and talked about.
Correct.
That's what I'm looking forward to hearing.
Yeah.
We've been told, hey, they're going to be doing a Agatha Harkness series.
Right.
They've signed her on to do her own Disney Plus series. Well, great. Who's going to be in it? When's that going to come out?
Right.
But some of those series that we know are kind of in the works, we hope we're going to get some, more information about. And this is going to be Disney Plus's day. This is going to be the day they're really going to try to hype that service up so they get more subscribers. Right.
Iron Wars.
Ironheart.
Those
Wakanda Forever is another one we know is coming.
Right. So some of that information, maybe just officially announcing, hey, we got these things coming down the pipe. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and there's been we know that Loki season 2 is coming. Well, when is that coming? Right. We know they've already got that in the hopper.
Yep.
We know What If season 2 is coming. So
right.
What's going on with that. So I'm just so excited. I think guys, pay attention. I'm sure it'll all eventually get released on YouTube and it'll be on demand. I'm sure it'll be on Disney Plus somewhere as well. But pay attention on Friday, folks. There's going to be a lot of announcements, and I'm sure Titanium will be hitting the Twitter button. And updating our audience on that too. So if you're not following us on Twitter, it's at SuperTalk Pod on Twitter. Give us a follow, and we'll keep you updated on what's being released and what's being announced.
Very cool. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, one other topic I wanted to get on. You and I've had a bit of a discussion or debate about this. We have not yet gotten the next trailer for Spider-Man: Far From Home. There has been a number of outlets out there that are pulling leaked footage and discussing leaked footage and talking about some of the things that have been leaked. And you know what? SuperTalk is not in the business of discussing nor covering nor discussing in depth leaked information.
Yeah, we'll talk about rumors, we'll talk about innuendos, we'll talk about predictions. But if somebody leaks something and it's pretty credible, I don't want to spoil it for fans. I'm not a big fan of that. and a lot of speculation, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a franchise. Spider-Man is a franchise that it is absolutely obsessed over, and it has a huge following, and people are starved for the Spider-Man content. It's been pushed back.
There's people that have channels and that are dedicated around them releasing new content every day, and they have nothing but these leaks to talk about. That's like the only thing that's out there, and so I understand why they're doing it, but it just kind of ends up being too much. So so many times we've burnt in the past where these are like fan-made stuff. They're fake. They're doctored up and all, and it's like, come on, guys. Look, when there's something for us to see, we'll be happy to cover it, and we'll talk about it, and we'll be excited about it. Heck, we did a special episode to talk about the first trailer, so we'll be very excited about it. That being said, there was something that was released this week officially from Sony, and that was the official movie poster, a new movie poster for Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
That movie poster is official.
Right.
And Sony sent it out and said, hey, go ahead and zoom and enhance and find all the little Easter eggs you can in this movie poster. And there's millions of people out there that have done that. But we got a really good look at what character we kind of assumed was going to be in the movie.
Sure.
We saw it in this movie poster.
Yeah,
right?
we saw the Goblin Bomb.
The Green Goblin.
Yeah, we saw the Goblin Bomb in one of the teasers, the first trailer. On the bridge when he's fighting Doc Ock, a bomb comes over, and we know it's a Goblin Bomb. But in this poster, we see him on his little winged glider. Yeah.
So he's on his glider in his full Green Goblin uniform, the William Dafoe kind of looking version of the Green Goblin. So that if nothing else, it confirms he's going to be in that movie. I think the other confirmation is, we know Jamie Foxx is going to be in the movie. I think that's the other one that everybody's willing to talk about because it's been a pretty low-kept secret,
yeah.
Right? So, but all the other stuff, look, I feel this trailer is going to come out. Look, we've got a movie coming out from Sony a week from Friday. It'll be coming out the 19th. Ghostbusters Eternal, or what is it? Yeah. Ghostbusters Forever. I don't know what the new one's called, but the new Ghostbusters movie.
Paul Rudd's in it.
Yeah, comes out a week from Friday, and that's a Sony movie. I would not be surprised if they attach this trailer to that movie. So there's guess number one. Guess number two is that weekend is D23. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is Marvel's big expo where they talk about everything, or not Marvel, Disney's big expo, D23. They talk about everything Disney. They talk about movies, they talk about television shows, they talk about theme parks, they talk about everything. And that's an entire weekend. I think we'll see a lot of the stuff we see on Disney Plus Day there. I think we'll see some movie trailers and some movie announcements there. Hey, what a great opportunity to solidify the partnership between Disney and Sony and Spider-Man, and that may be a time to release it. I think we're going to get it within the next week or two. There's no more. I mean, it's coming out in like a month and a half. The movie's coming out Christmas. So we're going to get this trailer soon. I know there's a lot of secrets that Sony's trying to keep about this movie, and they don't want to release too much too quick because people, we're talking about it now. Shows are talking about it every day.
Yeah.
We're doing their job for them promoting this movie.
Yeah.
So the more secrets they release, the less assumptions we can make about what's going to happen, and the less we can talk about. So we're going to see Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in a trailer. Maybe the trailer we see 2 weeks before the movie comes out. Who knows? We'll talk about it for sure.
Tom Holland, again, just 2 days ago, went out and said, I've learned my lesson. You guys have to trust me. They're not in this movie.
But it's Tom Holland.
I got it.
So, anyway.
Interesting. But,
nobody's more excited about this than SuperTalk, right? Yeah. We are as excited as everybody else is. When we have stuff to talk about.
I still think it's going to be busy. I still think the movie's going to be busy. I trust in Sony and Marvel and their collaboration. They put out great products so far. I just think it's going to be really busy. But I felt that way about the Eternals too. So I'm shutting it down. I'll if the trailer comes out, I'll watch the trailer. But all the new releases and the new clips and all that and the promotional material, I like to shut it down because I did that with the Eternals, and I think it paid off for me.
Good. So that's our point on Spider-Man this week. We'll get to it when we have something to talk about for sure, and hopefully we do very soon.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's jump right into the topic of the week this week, brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Studio GG Studios.
Studio GG Studios, Corner of the Cob, home of the man band.
They are releasing Buffalo Tim soon? I mean, is this happening? I mean, I've been told that this is happening.
Yeah, I just saw a little video clip of the epoxy floor. It's drying. I guess it takes a while to dry. They're repainting the whole studio, and they're moving equipment in. So it should be soon. It should be very soon.
We're excited for it. So go check them out. We always put a link to their page in our show notes. Please support them. They've done a great job supporting us, of course. Topic of the week this week, our big review of the Eternal movie. You and I saw the movie together. I'd love to hear your impressions of it. Look, just baseline for me, I thought it was great. I don't know why the critics are panning it so much. If they are, I don't know why the consumers haven't grasped onto this movie more than they should. I thought it was great. Like, I was pleasant. My expectations were pretty low.
Mine too.
Because of kind of the talk so far.
Mine too. Absolutely.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I did too. I really like this movie. I've been painting it for, I guess, months now. I've been saying, I don't know. It's a big step. I was right about one thing. And by the way, I was wrong. I was right about one thing. Visually, it was spectacular.
Stunning.
It was beautifully shot. Some of the scenes and some of the backdrops they're all natural. They shot with great camera angles. One of my favorite things is the way this movie was shot, for sure. The music, the score was off the charts, right on. It actually evoked emotions when no characters were even on.
Well, the guy who wrote the score is the same guy who wrote the music for Game of Thrones.
Awesome.
I mean, they hit a home run with that guy. I mean, if anybody's watched the Game of Thrones series, some of the most iconic, music for a television series ever.
Just the music is phenomenal. So I was definitely wrong. I said, I don't know about this. I heard it's going to be very unusual and different than any Marvel movie. And I guess it was. My only criticism is it was a little long. And that's it, to be honest with you. Even the slow parts, and there were plenty of slow parts, folks. Don't get me wrong. There are slow parts. But the slow parts are so great because they build an attachment to those characters, and you learn about the emotional attachment they have for each other. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a great, great movie. I put it right up there, not next to Shang-Chi, but I would put it right up there, man. I thought the opening first 5 minutes was spectacular. I mean, I was like, holy cow. And again, I shut it down early, and I'm going to do it with Spider-Man because I enjoyed this movie so much more for not watching the second trailer and not watching all the clips and all that information. So, what do you think about was it too much CGI, too much special effects?
No, I thought it was perfect. And again, they had some grand designs for this movie. This movie was supposed to really solidify some of those galactic, otherworldly threats that we're going to be seeing in the MCU. And,
cosmic threat,
right? And this has definitely done that, and it told the story of some pretty powerful cosmic beings in the in the Celestials. But kind of gave the backstory of the Eternals, and I agree with you. They did a great job. Look, this is a family that's been together for thousands of years. They were together for thousands of years, and their job was to shepherd the human race and help them evolve and move forward and become more evolved as a race. And it showed their connection to the human race, and in the different periods of time that they were active. They were only supposed to be interfering with the human race when deviants were involved, and they did that. They protected the humans from the deviants. But they really made their connection emotional. This was an emotional connection. I mean, Cersei and Icarus had multi-thousand-year relationship. They were married in the movie. And it's like you saw that, and then they split up. And then she starts seeing Dane Whitman, and he likes her very much, but he's like, heard your old boyfriend's he can fly. Oh, yeah, he's a pilot, right?
Yeah.
And so
right.
Lots
and he
of fun.
accuses her, are you a wizard like Doctor Strange? I thought that was hilarious.
It was great. I think every character played a great role in this movie. They had some great actors in this movie. Great actors in this movie. They all played their role very well. They all were featured at some point in time in different pieces during the movie. You got to see each one of their powers being used, mostly when they were fighting the deviants, but there were other times when other powers were more useful, and I thought it was really, really well done. I think the thing that really is difficult for the audience, maybe this is where it didn't connect with the viewers so much, it was complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a complex story to grasp hold of. Okay, so hang on a second. There's these beings called the Celestials. And one of the things I want to get into on the show this week is this is the first Marvel movie that ever started with the Star Wars kind of text box that's raising up the screen.
Yeah.
It's never happened on a Marvel movie before, but
It started with in the beginning, and there's
Right.
another famous book that starts like that. I think it's the Bible.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really shocking.
and they showed this text, and they were kind of using that text to explain kind of the origin of the Celestials and the Eternals. And there's a lot of lies that are told in that portion of the movie.
Yeah.
What the way that it was explained to us, the audience, is before there was anything, there was an Eternal. I mean, a Celestial. The Celestial was the first thing that was ever. Erishim was the first thing that was ever created, and then he was tasked with creating life around the universe, and he was responsible for creating suns and planets and galaxies and solar systems, and that was him that did all that. And then he decided, well, I need some help, and so I'll start seeding these planets with seeds of other Celestials that can help me out, and then they'll be born, and we'll have plenty of these guys around that can kind of do the same thing I'm doing across the entire cosmos, right? And so we were told that that's why they existed. And the story also was told was that the deviants were a threat to these life forms on these planets, and so they were forced to create the Eternals to protect these life forms on these planets from the deviants.
Yeah.
The deviants were kind of a predator, a race of predators that was on these planets, and I had to create the Eternals to go protect these races so that they could continue to evolve. Now, we got told the true story later on in the movie, but that's the picture that was being painted for us. And we saw the Domo, which is their spaceship, the Eternal spaceship, get to Earth for the first time. And this is back in Mesopotamia when the human race was still, was just, kind of really evolved into what the humans that we see today. And we see them, drop down out of their ship and fight off a bunch of deviants that were going to kill some of the humans.
Yeah.
And then, you kind of get some story, through the hundreds and thousands of years that they were around.
Yeah, they had to unpack a lot in the beginning to kind of get us there, right? And I thought they did a great job at that. And I think that's what the critics didn't like. It was so much information and it was so much to unpack that they were over analyzing everything and how much information and how much you had to follow along. But, I think the audiences really dug it. I mean, it was complicated, but it wasn't too hard to follow. And I think as a novice, let's put it this way. My youngest daughter, Gabby, she doesn't read a ton of comics. She loves this stuff, but she's not in the comic book world. She didn't know who the Celestials were. She loved this movie, and she's pretty tough. I mean, she doesn't like a lot.
So she liked it as well. Right?
Yeah, she loved it. She wants to go see it again. I mean, she really liked this movie. So that speaks volumes that where the audience is. And the critics, I think they got it wrong, man. I think they just... I don't know if they're grandstanding, standing up on their soapbox just to kind of...
I was waiting for the bad part of the movie
Me
to
too.
show up. I'm like,
I was like,
where's
oh,
the
it's going to
bad
be
part?
long. There's going to be some slow parts. But I found myself completely engaged during the slow parts and kind of following along with the story. I thought there were some great twists and some turns that weren't so complicated that you got lost. I mean, I kind of followed it, right?
Yeah, so I guess the story that we were told in the movie, well, obviously we're giving away a lot of some plot points, so if you haven't seen it, please turn away. But the fact is that these Eternals were a family, and they were there to protect the human race and cultivate the human race. They were there to help them out, and then we saw that plenty of scenes where they were showing them how to, farm, and how, that we know that Fastos, their engineer, wanted to create the steam engine like way earlier than they needed. And they're like, no, it's too early for that. And they're like, well, here's something I've invented. It's called the plow. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, they need to farm, so we can give that to them. So I guess, the theory is that he was involved or responsible for some of the keen inventions that were created throughout history. The Eternals, and him specifically was. But, they're shepherding the human race for, I guess, I can't remember when they first showed up on Earth, but around 1500, mid 1500 AD was the Spanish Inquisition, and they were there, and they were like, wanted to interfere and stop this bloodshed is what they saw.
And the reason why that whole change, they kind of diverted from their mission, at least some of them was diverting from their mission, is because they've grown attached to these people. They see that they can, there's a lot of bad that they're doing, they're fighting, but they also love, and they're happy, and there's a lot of good as well. And I think a lot of that started to pull the Eternals in different directions.
But what happens is they had killed off what they believed was the last deviant on Earth. I mean, they had been hunting them for thousands of years, and they killed off the last one. And they're like, look, we're not supposed to be interfering. We're not supposed to be doing anything. We need to stay away. And they kind of broke up. Basically, they said, hey, we're going to just go our own ways, and you should go off and live your life. Like, create a life for yourself, go live your life, live amongst these people.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for us to be together as a team anymore because our job has pretty much been completed.
Right.
And so they did. They went off and kind of lived their own lives, and they kind of established their own. We found out what they've all been up to for a long time. Kingo went off and became a Bollywood movie star, and he, kind of hid himself, at times where, but
in multi-generations, yeah.
Yeah, it's like his great-grandfather and his grandfather and his father and then him was hysterical. And so he's been a Bollywood star for hundreds, a couple hundred years at least. And we know Cersei, moved to London and was working in a museum. And we know Fastos had a family. He got married and had a family, and they adopted a son, and he was kind of on his own doing that. And so, and we know Thena and Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
So Thena, there was this was the part of the movie where they kind of split up. She had a little bit of a mental breakdown, and something happened to her where she started fighting her teammates.
She had this condition, this mind condition, where her old memories weren't completely erased, and they were coming back and haunting her.
Well, we don't want to get into the eraser part, but
yeah.
she was experiencing memories that weren't of her lifetime.
Yes.
So her lifetime on Earth, the thousands of years she had been on Earth, she was remembering things from when she wasn't on Earth. And people were like, what's going on? They didn't understand what was happening. And Gilgamesh had the ability to kind of calm her down and get her out of that state. So the two of them went off and lived in isolation together, because he could protect her and kind of take care of her. But, she's still not 100% there mentally. But Ajax basically was like, look, the entire team, go off and do your own thing. Yeah. And we catch up with Cersei. She's living in London, and Sprite is there with her. And I guess she's been there for some time together, and they've kind of been hanging out together. But Cersei's dating Dane Whitman, and we see an attack on London is a deviant. And they're like, is that a deviant? Oh, my God. The first time we've seen a deviant in a few hundred years. What's going on? And that's when Icarus shows up, and then they kind of were like, hey, the deviants are back. We need to get back together.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The deviants aren't going after the humans. They're going after the Eternals.
Now they're attacking the Eternals.
Yeah.
They used to just kill humans, and now they're hunting down the Eternals,
right, which
is also new for them.
Yes, which was interesting.
Yeah. And we saw the deviants now had powers that they didn't have before. That this one deviant had the ability to heal itself. So Icarus would zap his eye beams at it, and typically would have killed a deviant, but it was able to heal itself. And they're like, whoa, that's new. That's never been able to do that before.
Yeah.
What's happening? So they decide to reform the team. They go off in search of all the other Eternals, and they say, hey, we need to get back together and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, which was very cool. I mean,
Yeah.
and throughout all of this, we get some character building, we get some backstory.
They do some flashbacks of showing them in previous times in history and what they've been doing, what they've been up to.
They need to go find Ajax, who is what's it called? The Prime Eternal. So she's basically the leader, and she's the one that can communicate to Armistice.
Arishem.
Right? Arishem, yeah. The big Celestial.
Right. The Celestial that put them there, she has this
Orb
that goes into her body and allows her to communicate with Arishem the judge. And, he tells her, hey, you're doing just great. Keep on mission. You're doing fine. Everything's good. And we find out that later on in the movie that Arishem had implanted a celestial seed in Earth.
Right.
And this is kind of some of the plot that's given up to us, is that the life forms on a planet they have their own kind of energy that they give off.
Yeah.
And the more that life form populates, the larger it grows, the more energy it's feeding to the celestial seeds.
Positive and negative. The more people is on the planet, and the more conflict, and the more they interact with each other, and the more they thrive and grow and evolve, that energy basically incubates the seed of the celestial in the main. So it's actually helping it grow and grow. And I guess it grew a lot because, apparently the snap, when it brought back half the population, it sped up the emergence, which is the birth of a celestial in the heart of your planet.
Right. So when Thanos had blinked half of the population of the universe away, it slowed down that process, and it would have been delayed for several, decades possibly. But then when the Hulk brought everybody back, it then created this energy flux that just sped that process back up again, and now they were like a week away from that emergence happening.
Yeah.
And all the Eternals were like, oh. And they learn that when a Celestial's born, the planet is destroyed. I mean, like, literally, imagine...
All life on that planet's destroyed.
Yeah, all life on that planet is destroyed. And again, the Eternals are like, look, we've been in charge of protecting this population of humans on this planet for thousands of years, and now all of a sudden they're all going to die?
Yeah.
And some of them didn't like that. Some of them wanted to figure out a way to stop it and help them.
But some of them felt like, the
That's
life
their
of
job.
this planet, that's what we're here for. We're here to help them as much as possible, to help the Celestial. And then that Celestial, in turn, will develop billions of other planets and trillions of other life forms.
That Celestial will be responsible for seeding so many other planets that the net positive of life forms is worth it.
Correct.
From the Celestial's perspective.
In the Celestial's perspective, and some of the Internals. So, i.e. Icarus, who we find out is very dedicated to the mission, and regardless of all the Eternals' feelings or anything like that, he's focused on finishing that mission.
Well, we learned a lot, and this happened. Ajax ended up dying, so the prime Eternal ended up dying. The orb goes into Cersei. She's now in charge of the orb, and she can communicate with Arishem, even though she doesn't know how to. She hasn't figured that out. But we find out Ajax dies, and Ajax had told Icarus that for the first time in her millions of years, she doesn't want to go along with the plan. And so we get the MacGuffin here is that the Eternals have been around for millions of years.
Yeah.
What happens is the Celestials place the Eternals on a planet that they're cultivating so that life forms on those planets can thrive and then birth this Celestial that was seeded there.
Now, here's my question. Do they also place the deviants there?
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah.
So he said what happens is when the planets are created, there are natural predators that feed on the race that's going to become the dominant race on that planet. They're natural predators on that planet that will feed on that race. So think about apes. Like, for example, apes were going to evolve into humans.
Yeah. Dinosaurs.
Right. So there were dinosaurs. So we need something to clear out all the dinosaurs so that these apes can evolve into the human race. Right. And so Arishem admitted, I created the deviants. And I would put them on these planets so that they could hunt the predators on that planet so that the dominant race could evolve to what it needs to be and basically populate the planet. What he said was, unfortunately, when I created the deviants, I gave them the ability to evolve. Mm-hmm. So what was happening is they were evolving to a point where they would get out of control, and they ultimately would stop hunting the predators and would start hunting the dominant race of that planet, i.e. the humans. So he's like, look, it was okay when they were hunting the dinosaurs, but when they started hunting the humans, that's a problem. I needed to find a way to cull that population of deviants that I put there, and that's why I created the Eternals. And I put them on there so they would hunt all the deviants so that the human race could thrive.
So, right? He populates the planet with deviants to kind of clear it out and help the dominant race that should be the dominant race there. And he puts the Eternals in at one point once the dominant race is established to help kill the deviants. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said that, and they've been doing this across multiple planets for millions of years. Right. Ajak was the only one that knew this. She had known the whole story. And what he does is, Arishem, when he gets to the point where the Celestials, birthed from the planet, he pulls the Eternals out, and he brings them back to this headquarters, which is called the Galactic Forge, I believe it's called.
The World Forge.
World Forge.
Uh-huh.
And he brings them back there, which is where they were created, and this is where he creates Eternals, and then he keeps all of their memories stored in this giant wall. And he keeps all the memories. And he said, they brings them back there, wipes all their memories, and then puts them back on a spaceship and sends them to a new planet. And they've done this many, 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 many times.
Yeah.
And those are the memories that Thena somehow was tapping into. For some reason, they weren't erased properly, and that's how she was going kind of little bonkers, right?
Right.
But this has happened many times over. Yeah. And Ajak was like, I'm done. This can't keep happening. I mean, we love these people. We can't let them perish, right?
Yeah, I think part of it was this planet had a specific role in bringing half-life back in the whole universe that was snapped away. They found a way to bring it back, and I think she respected that, and she kind of was in awe of that these humans had figured out a way to do that. So very interesting. And then once Cersei becomes the new leader, Aramis kind of explains all of this to her and explains that they're not really human. They're just symbiotes, right?
They're robots. Yeah, basically.
They're created. They're symbiotes. There's hundreds of them that he dispatches, groups of these 10 all over. So there are many different Eternals and a lot of different Eternals throughout the galaxy.
Yeah, and
about the universe, right?
Right, and so look. Few things happen in the movie. A couple of Ajak passes away. Gilgamesh, sacrifices himself for his family as well. This one deviant crow has found out one of the ways that it's evolved is it's figured out a way to steal the powers from an Eternal.
That's why they're hunting them.
Right, so he can tap into the Eternal, siphon off all that galactic energy the Eternal has, and then give it back to the other deviants and evolve them and create different and more advanced deviants. And so he's done that, and he's now kind of like a pretty badass a deviant that they have to hunt down. But as you mentioned, there were a couple of Eternals that didn't really like what was going on or wanted to keep the status quo, and Icarus was one of them. And we find out he's kind of the bad guy in this movie, but
I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's more of a protagonist. I think he definitely isn't the big villain. I thought the deviants.
Well, he wanted to stay on mission.
He wanted believed to stay on mission. He felt dedicated to the cause and felt like the Celestials knew what they were doing, and they've been doing it for billions of years, and he wanted to stay on point. And I don't blame him for that, but ultimately his love for Cersei, I think, affected him, and at the very, very end, I think he pulled away from that.
Yeah, and we found out that Sprite was in love with him as well, but she was trapped in this, child body.
Yeah.
Even though she's thousands of years old, she's trapped in the body of a child, and so she's never going to be seen as a love interest of Icarus, even though she's been in love with him for her whole life. And so she also kind of turns away from the team. I tell you what, look, the movie. We don't need to give away the entire ending unless you really want to. But
no.
The thing, a couple of things that hit me. I think Fastos was a big surprise to me. I mean, not only the powers that he had and his engineering powers, but when he kind of had to kind of lay down and fight a little bit, he could. And he actually put Icarus in a bit of a bind there. He was creating all these, I guess, handcuffs or whatever that he would put on Icarus, and it would siphon his power away from him. So he was like one guy that was able to kind of,
control Icarus,
stop Icarus.
Yeah.
And the other one was a big home run was Makari.
What a badass speedster.
So supposedly she is the fastest being in the universe.
Wow.
She is the fastest, life form in the universe.
Wow. Incredible. I thought the special effects in showing her as a speedster, and I've seen a lot. We've seen, Quicksilver, we've seen the Flash, the series Flash, we've seen this Flash movie. Flash is a little different because he goes into another dimension, the Speed Force, and then moves through that. But I thought the way they interpreted her speed was excellent.
Oh my God, it was crazy. There's one point in the movie where Fastos, tells her she needs to go find where the emergence is happening, and she basically runs out of the ship and basically runs around the entire globe looking for this emergence spot and finds it within seconds. I mean, you could see her just zooming through everything.
Yeah.
And there's lots of points in the movie where she's saving people that are being hunted. She's just grabbing them all one by one and moving them out of the way.
Right as the deviant's about to bite them, they're like gone.
Oh, yeah. But she's, her and Icarus eventually go at it a little bit during the fight scene, and she's beating the crap out of him. I mean, just totally owning him for a point in time. I'm like, man, she was a big badass in this movie too.
I love the ending. I thought it was great the way they kind of they lost some Eternals. They kind of split the team up at the end, and but they were all focused on the main saving Earth. I thought it was great. I do have some questions about one of the main characters, Icarus. Like, what happened to him? I don't think he's done.
He's done.
Is he done?
He flew into the sun.
Okay, but I'm just saying it's Icarus. I mean, I'm just saying. I think there's something there.
I mean, at the end, he apologized and said, "I screwed up. I'm sorry." And he was so devastated of what he had done, he took off and flew directly into the sun. And I mean, you think he can survive flying into the sun?
He's an Eternal. I don't know. So we'll see. I think it's interesting. Yeah, we know there's more Icaruses out there. There's other Eternals.
Well, there's other Eternals, right? Yeah, but I don't know if he's coming back at all. I mean, it's possible. I guess anything's possible. But
they did say the Eternals will return, so I hope we get another Eternals too, because I thought it was great.
Well, we got to talk about something, because this ties into some of the post-credit scenes. At the end of the movie, 3 of the Eternals, Thena, Druig, and
Makari.
Yeah,
Makari.
Thena, Druig, and Makari go on the Domo and leave Earth, and they've decided they're going to go out and try to find other Eternals. And so they said, "Hey, there's other people like us out there. We need to see if we can find them." And I feel they think I believe they feel they have to do something about this Celestrials kind of just doing whatever they want to, and they kind of need to figure out a way to kind of stop that. So they get on the Domo and they leave and fly away, and they're on the Domo, leave Earth. We know there's 3 that stay. So Cersei and
Fastos, Kingo
and Fastos stay on Earth, and Sprite.
Which
Fastos stays with his family. Sprite was turned into a human.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that Cersei was able to do. She made Sprite a human so that she would grow up, become an adult, and eventually die. She said, "If I do this, you're going to eventually die, grow old and die. But if that's what you want, I'll do that for you." So she did. Turned her into a human, and she's going to a boarding school. She's going to go live with Kingo and go to school. And then Cersei stays, and she's going to stay in London and be with Dane Whitman.
Yeah.
And then Arishem shows up and grabs Fastos, Cersei, and Kingo and pulls them off the Earth and says, I'm not happy with what you did here, but I'm gonna analyze your memories, and I will come back, and these people will be judged.
Right. Yeah.
And
I will let them live right now, and we will access your memories, and I will come back, and they will be judged.
they will be judged. That's what he said. So they're gone. And the other three that are on the domo, and at that point in time, Dane Whitman sees her be pulled off the earth. He's like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah. Right when he was about to tell her about his complicated
uncle family history.
My family history is very complicated.
Yeah, which is the other post-credit scene we'll get into. But then the domo, the crew on the domo, like, hey, we haven't heard from anybody in days. Something's wrong. We need to go back. And we can kind of get into the post-credit scenes now.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers here, guys. There's so many plot lines that were opened up, and there's so many storylines that were opened up in this movie that could continue forward in other series, in other movies. I thought that was great, too. I really enjoyed that. But when they're in the domo, there's almost like a phasing type situation going on. And they all feel it in the hallway. Something happens.
It was like a rainbow-colored thing, in which
Bifrost kind of traveling,
similar
to the Bifrost, similar to Thor when he gets
teleporting.
And out pops this, rolls kind of this drunk troll, and we find out it's Pip the Troll, which is in comic book is a very famous character. As a matter of fact, in the Infinity Gauntlet, he played a pivotal role, but He's from this planet, and they kind of look like trolls. Pip the Troll, and
but he has the ability to teleport. So that's his thing, is he can teleport, throughout the universe, and he teleports into the ship, kind of drunk, and then he makes this big announcement, and then out of the teleportation rainbow bridge thing comes
the Prince of Titan, the
brother of Thanos,
the Prince of Titan, the defeater of Black Robert, he said, and then when Star Fox gets there, he says it's Roger, it's
Black Roger.
Black Roger, I guess, is a bad guy that he defeated, and it's kind of well known that was one of his big things that he did.
But the character is Star Fox, who's a well-known character, space-based or cosmic-based character in the comic books as well, is the brother of Thanos, the younger brother of Thanos, being played by Harry Styles.
Harry Styles. Wow. I think that's great. I think smart.
Yeah.
Smart casting. They're going to pull in another whole generation of people that love him musically and want to see him. It's brilliant.
And he's wearing a very comic book accurate red and white uniform. He's got the red hair. It was spot on. Great. And he comes out and he has one of the celestial orbs in his hand, and he says, I know where your friends are, and I know how to find them.
Yeah, and they're in trouble. Your friends are in trouble,
and
I know where they are, and I know how to find them.
Yeah, and so
he's an Eternal.
Yeah, he is an Eternal. Yeah. And we can kind of get into his history if you want to, but they're from Titan. That's where Thanos is from. They were born Eternals. They were not created Eternals. Now, this movie may be different. They may be created the same way our Eternals were in the movie, but they were born.
He's brother to Thanos.
Thanos was his older brother. Thanos was born. He had the deviant
gene.
Yeah, so mutation, and that's why he looks purple and
a little bit different. Yeah,
yeah, with the
still
grimace, with a nutsack chin.
We'll get into Eos in the next episode. Eros, I'm sorry. We'll get into Star Fox. How about that?
Yeah.
Star Fox in the next episode and give his backstory, because I'm.
But big. I mean, huge. Whether this is just planning for the next Eternals movie, which is possible, but it is also possible that we see one or many of these characters in any space-based movie, whether it be Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Thor: Love and Thunder, or
give me more
Nova
cosmic stuff. Yeah. I love it.
Silver Surfer. I mean, we don't know where we might see these characters again, but great reveal. And again, this was one of the spoilers that we were talking about last week when kind of came out earlier. This was. I wish nobody had said anything.
I would have loved to have that to hit me. Now, the second post-credit scene, I knew nothing about. I didn't read anything about it. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know if Black Knight was going to be in it. I didn't know if Dane Whitman was going to reveal something. I didn't even know he was going to be in the second post-credit scene. I thought it was going to be something completely different in my mind, and I was so happy that I didn't, because it hit me at the very end, and I was like, whoa.
So as you mentioned, Dane Whitman had explained to Cersei right before she got pulled off the planet that I wanted to talk to you about my family. My family's history is a bit complicated.
Yeah.
So during the movie, she had said, "Hey, you've been estranged from your uncle. I think it's time for you guys to make up, and this is now the time." And she was saying
Cersei
that
knew the history.
Well, she was saying that to him because the world was going to end, and she's like, now's the time to make peace with your uncle.
Yeah.
And she gave him in the movie a ring with his family's sigil on it, which is the kind of the crow flying through the air of the Black Knight, which he wears on his uniform. Well, in this post-credit scene, we see him in a kind of a study that's got a bunch of artifacts around it, and there's this big case. And on the case is his family sigil on it.
Yeah.
And he opens the case up, and this big loud noise happens, and we see a sword that's wrapped in some cloth. But it's a black blade with an intricate handle. And what was the saying that was on the? He said, "Oh, death is my reward."
Death is your reward.
Yeah, yeah. Death is my reward, or something like that. And he's like, "Oh," he said something like, "I don't want to, but I think I have to." And he reaches forward, and he's getting ready to touch the sword.
The blade is moving.
You can see like kind of a liquefied effect on the blade, and it's kind of moving towards his fingers. And then we hear a voice from off screen say, "Are you sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?" And it's Mahershala Ali, Blade.
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali's voice
that freaked me out.
Said,
I was like, yeah.
"Are you sure you're ready for this, Mr. Whitman?" And
he's standing there. That's badass. But you don't see him. It's off screen. You just hear him.
So again, the excitement I got from that was, well, we know the Blade movie's coming. We know it's coming sometime in the next 2 years, we believe. Not next year, probably the year after. Hopefully the year after, if we're lucky. We know that's in place. I'm hoping we're going to get some more information about that during D23. Please, Kevin Feige, tell us what's going on with Blade. But now this tells me we may see Dane Whitman as the Black Knight in the Blade movie. Wow. Yeah. That would be so cool. Yeah. Because, hey, if you're going to feed on souls, you might as well feed on vampires because nobody cares, right?
That's right.
So the story behind the Black Knight is the sword is the black blade. It basically feeds on the souls of the individuals that it kills, and it has a thirst. And the only
ebony blade, it's called.
Yeah,
and they actually mention it earlier when she's holding a sword. Oh, is that the ebony blade? And Thena says, no, it's Excalibur. Yeah, huh?
You said when she's holding a sword.
When Thena is holding the sword,
they're in the ship. Makari had basically stolen a bunch of things from around the world, and she was holding the sword. Excuse me. And she said...
And Sprite says, is that the ebony blade? And Thena says, no, it's Excalibur. And she made a comment like, well, King Arthur always did have a crush on you.
Yeah.
That was cute.
Yeah, it was very funny. But yeah, so the ebony blade is really cool. So
just to see it, just to have it
But
now.
for it to be Mahershala Ali's voice, I mean, that was just killer.
That was probably one of my... That right there set me over the top.
Yeah.
Great movie. Great post-credit scenes, so many storylines to expand on. Great start to Phase 4. I mean, Black Widow was
such
good,
a big
but
picture.
This was so much better. It really did.
Painted a huge picture for the future. We've got the Celestials, who are going to be this big cosmic threat. We've got these Eternals, who are now characters that can kind of help combat that threat as well as help out in other movies and whatever. We don't know we're going to see them again.
We could talk another hour about this movie and some of the things that were in it in our breakdowns, and we might get into it in the next show. If you have any comments or if you have any questions about it or need some understanding, write in the comments, email us, send me a DM on Twitter. And
there's a lot of confusing stuff in this movie. So if you have any questions about what happened and what somebody was thinking or doing or the story behind, and again, there were some lies told to us up front, and we kind of learned the truth in the back half, and there's kind of still some partial truths out there, but I think
I missed a lot in this movie. I'm going to go see it again, just to kind of
I thought it was great. I mean, just overall, and I don't know if we need to officially rank this quite yet, but as far as I'm concerned, in my Marvel movie rankings, it's about halfway there. I agree with you. It's below Shang-Chi. I thought Shang-Chi was better. I mean, I enjoyed that movie more. But it's definitely in kind of like the halfway point of the movies.
It's so different, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't the regular Marvel movie. It was very different. The love stories, the relationship building, the character depth. I really liked it, and for those reasons. So I had really low expectations. I think we both did. We both had really low expectations, and it exceeded them. It blew them out of the water.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do that next week. We'll talk about where it fits in our rankings of the movies, but. Yeah, I mean, overall, guys, if you haven't seen this movie, go see it. It's a Marvel movie.
It is.
It's done.
Awesome.
And as Titanium mentioned, visually it's stunning. The special effects are fantastic.
Yeah.
It just really is a good movie. So, I mean, I really couldn't say anything bad about it, really, at this point. There wasn't a point in the movie where it was like, wow, that's bad. No, this was all really good.
Yeah, agree. Let's ring the bell, Professor.
All right, well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or at supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone. All right.
We're out.
YouTube, go see the movie. It's worth it.
Awesome.
It really is worth it.
Thank you.